never like, 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 never like.
Hey guys, welcome to the 5 F's to Love. And you're probably thinking, this is not Gerald Robinson and this is 60 is the new 40. You know what? You're right. But tonight we're going to do a special edition, and I thought it was important for me to introduce him. You know, I've known Gerald for over 30 years, and as a woman who's gone through divorce, I think the conversation tonight is to really help people who are going through divorce or who've gone through divorce to understand the other side of the conversation. I think he's an amazing guy. And I think we need to understand what men go through. A lot of times as women, we just assume that they make this transition a little bit easier than we do. And there's no emotions attached, but it is. And like I said, I think this is the guy to have the conversation with. So let me bring in Gerald. How are you?
Great, Chris. How about yourself?
I am outstanding. You know, I often tell you how much I admire you.
Really?
Yeah. What do you mean, really?
More.
You need more. You know, it's the thing is, I was talking to Reggie Dillard, and I've known you and Reggie about the same amount of time.
Yep.
And it's so funny because, you know, when I think about when you said to me, Christine, I've known you the longest, and I was like, man, he has. But then Reggie was like, I've known you the longest. So both of y'all knew me at the same time.
Okay,
that don't count.
Maybe a month longer.
Maybe a month or so. But the thing is that I find that both of you are really like husbands. You're strong men of integrity. He's raising his daughter. You raised your son. You're raising your grandchildren. Like you guys are like the epitome of what women are looking for. But the thing is that, you know, he said to me the other day, because he's in the process of now going through a divorce. And he said to me, it changes you. Sure. And the first thing I said was, you know what, this is a conversation to have with Gerald because Gerald has already gone through it. Correct. And to me, I want people to understand what that transition looks like because you had your ups and downs, but you also had to redefine you along the way. You know, one of the things that I caught, like what you were saying, is that you lose pieces of yourself throughout the process.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. So like this conversation tonight, I guess, is what I already know about you, but I'm hoping the conversation help women who are divorcing their husbands and men who are going through divorce to understand how to manage that process. So all I gotta say is, Gerald, we're gonna have a good time.
All right, let's do it.
The divorce is not a happy conversation, so excuse me if I laugh a little bit, everybody.
It's not happy, but you know we can get through it and move on. There's life after divorce, and we'll talk about that as well.
And we'll talk about that too. So our first segment, just to be clear, I want to break this down in segments, is understanding love is different than being in love with someone. And that's one of the things that, you know, when I talk to people, I'm starting to understand more. So for you, I know how old you were when you first got married, but when you married your son's mom, how old were you?
23. And only
Dude, you don't even know who you were.
And only my second relationship.
That was your second relationship? Because I remember like you were saying she was out of high school or something like that.
No, it was about a couple of years after high school.
Couple years after high school.
Couple years after high school.
Like you didn't even know who you were.
I had no clue. I had no career. I had nothing going on for myself. All I saw was a cute little girl, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, I'll make her my wife.
You was like, that's my baby's mama right there.
Exactly right. So that's how I thought. You know, I didn't think about future and didn't think about career and all that. It was just, hey,
because at that point you weren't even playing baseball.
I'm sorry.
You weren't even playing baseball or anything at that point. You were
just I was not playing baseball at that time. Unfortunately, that didn't happen in a couple years after baseball.
A couple years after. You know, it's amazing because when I look at you now, I can't even picture you as a 23-year-old. Like, were you as decisive as you are now in your decision making?
I was not quite there. You had to grow. You had to evolve into yourself. That was part of growing up and part of the difference between 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60 years old. You need to kind of find yourself. But one thing I did realize, though, I am a husband. I know what a husband's all about, what it's like to be a husband, which is important. A lot of people always say, be a wife. Everybody's talking to women, be a wife, be a wife. You know what, man? You need to be a husband. Carry yourself.
And we're going to talk more about that as time goes on, because you do take a different perspective on things when you come into a situation knowing that you were a husband. Because at 23, you knew you wanted to be married and you knew you wanted to be children, but that's the mindset of a man who knows he's a husband.
Correct.
That's not the mindset of a man who just sees.
I wanted to do right by her. That was the right thing to do. So I did the right thing. I thought that was the right thing, but I did not know what it actually took to be a husband. Which is a totally different conversation. You knew you wanted to be one, but you didn't know what it took to be one. Exactly right. Exactly.
And and that's the thing. But over the years, and I can honestly tell you guys, RJ, when he was a little bitty dude, is when I first met Gerald, because it was so funny. Seeing a little bitty person and now they're an adult kind of blows my mind a lot of times. But you were like an awesome dad. Like you were totally in tune with your kid and with that situation. So I wanted to ask you, when you divorced, how did that impact your family in totality? Because I know I saw you with RJ, but I didn't see anything outside of that. Right.
They didn't see it coming. So something kind of surprised them. But one nice thing about it, after divorce, you still can be civil with each other. So one nice thing about it is, even though I did raise him, his mom was still involved in his life. We still, initially had our little ups and downs, but initially we came together saying, you know what, it's about RJ. It's not about us any longer. So we need to be civil with this whole situation. So his life can be so his life will not be impacted from our divorce. Because that divorce is between us. Divorce wasn't between RJ. And that's what a lot of people need to realize. That divorce is between you two, not between the child, and not use the child as a pawn. I'm going to make you do this. I'm going to make you do that. I'm going to put the child in the middle of all that. So trust me, we've been through all those things and you grow from it.
So like, at what age did you guys go through that divorce? So 23, you get married, but now you're going through a divorce. Your mindset changes.
Totally changes. I grew.
You grew. Did you grow faster, or did you have to hurry up and grow up?
No, I grew faster, because again, I was married for 9 years, so at the same time I started to learn, like, okay, this is what a husband's supposed to be. This is what a husband should be doing. Like I said, I wanted to be a husband, but you need to kind of evolve into being a husband, and the things that you should do as a husband. Still hanging out with the boys and doing all the boy stuff and all that is not really being a husband. Not saying that you don't have yourself and you still will do things. But first and foremost, my commitment, it would be to my wife before it's my boys. So before you decide to get married, you need to realize that your commitment is to your spouse. So make that commitment and go from there. At 23, you thought I thought those things? Not at all.
At 23, you're like, look, I just want to be with you. I just want to say, hey, what's going on, Precious, from Real Talk with the Ladies. She's like, hey. She also said, you have to evolve into yourself. Say that, Gerald. Precious, thank you so much. That's Real Talk with the Ladies, honey. We support each other.
And she's absolutely
network, right. We support one another. We chime in. Gerald, I'm going to tell you, people don't even quite understand you as an athlete, and going through that process was really, I would say, more damaging to you, because your mindset was always to win. And that's one of the things I think we first met. It was like you motivated me to stay focused. Like, what you doing? Kind of thing. What you doing? And I like that. I want to say, basically, shout out to the Qs. I don't want y'all to think I'm just saying it was just Gerald who motivated me to do right things. It was the Qs. All right, Reggie, don't act like this on my bad side. All right. I just want to say the Qs. Y'all know I love y'all because y'all looked out for me in college. But what I'm going to say is that you're such a strong mental game. Correct. Like for you, but you're mental, unlike most men, you're very emotional.
Yeah, exactly. And it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be emotional. I was crushed through my marriage, going through a divorce that hurt, that bothered. Yeah. That's a sense of failure. And I mean, bottom line, when I was playing ball and I was, trying to get drafted and I ended up getting drafted, I expected that. That's what I was shooting for, accomplishing to get drafted. Hey, I got drafted. And then next thing you know, when that career didn't, start ending, that was a disappointment. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Need to find something else. So now getting married, I need to be committed to this marriage and
Right.
a husband and learn about being a husband, and everything else. But, I had rocky roads and needed to learn in that process. And then when that came to an end, there's another failure. So like, wait a second, wait a minute, I need to correct some things. So there's a lot of times you need to take a look at yourself and reevaluate yourself, at times, because men don't do that. We have that macho thing. I deal with that macho thing. It's like, okay, it's not me, it's you. It's all you, it's all you, it's all you. No, it's not all them. It's also yourself, make an adjustment on some things that you're doing as well. And that's what happened with me. I needed to make some adjustments.
And talking about that, one of the things I want to be clear is like you went through steps of really kind of reevaluating yourself, because you didn't actually start dating or getting married or even thinking about marriage once you got divorced. You were really focused on RJ, but at the same time, I guess because I met you after that, but I could see you going through that transition of being a parent. It was kind of funny, the stuff that you were thinking about, but it was mostly about my kid and not about the next woman.
Absolutely correct. It was a focus on it because I'm about family, and I didn't want him to be impacted on, again, as I was saying earlier, affected with our divorce. And I didn't want him to be affected. So I needed to concentrate on him. And also I didn't need to be dating and him meeting, multiple people like that.
Right.
That's very important. So be very careful and very mindful of that, is that you're trying to meet, introduce them to the next person. No, that doesn't need to happen until you're actually in a serious relationship. So, it also gave me opportunity, Chris, to read some books and study the same way I study for a degree. I needed to study some books about relationships. Mom and dad, great relationship, growing up with two parents. In the
I was going to talk about that.
Just because, they had a great relationship and they were married for X amount of years. Okay, there's going to be things are going to be different in my marriage. My wife is going to be different because I'm a different person. Right. So, I can't have the same expectations of my wife, that my mother had of my dad. So it's totally different. So that's part of evolving, as she was saying, into myself.
Right. And that's one of the things that I think was really great about you, because you came from a family unit where your parents, and I remember you talking about them for years, like they were the ideal situation to mimic, right?
Correct.
In the way that your mother loved and cared for each one of you guys individually. Correct. Although you keep saying that you're her favorite, we won't get into that, but she loves everybody equally.
Watching now, hold on. Now.
I just want to say she loved everybody equally, but it's like in my family, we always say I'm mom's favorite. We all do that. But one of the things that I will say is that it really impacted you, because you felt like you not only let yourself down, but you let them down.
Correct.
It was like a whole emotional thing that you were going through. And can you kind of share how you managed your emotions and had to separate yourself from other people's expectations while you were trying to raise your kid and still keep a relationship with her?
That's funny you were saying that, because, what was nice that I put it up front right from the beginning. So if I started dating someone, I let them know immediately that the mother and I are still, not, involved in that way as far as our marriage is concerned, but we're involved in our son's life. So there was events that he would go to or he'd be involved in. We would both show up, or we would sit there together and cheer him on or whatever. Because, of course, sports is a big thing in our family. So he's playing football or whatever. We're out there both cheering for him. So RJ's name's on him, and that's on her. RJ's name's on me. They're like, okay, who are you guys? We're RJ's parents. You know what I mean? So, and they're sitting there like, okay, but we're not married. And they're looking at us like, well, wait a minute, you guys are sitting here cheering together and everything for yourself. Yeah, because it's about RJ once again.
Right.
It was not easy to get there, though. So let me just make sure I make that very, very clear. It was a challenge. It was a challenge. But guess what? It took me. It didn't take her. It took me. Yeah. It took me to make some changes in myself to make that happen. And I feel like, again, men, we need to take some responsibility, some things. As I took that responsibility and say, you know what, I'll make some changes here in order to make it better for everyone.
I like how you took that team approach. Yeah. Like you just let go of your whole ego, the whole, I am man. And you were like, look, we're going to put all this aside. The marriage didn't work. This right here is our focus. Right. And I think that's really great. And you guys were able to maintain that type of friendship throughout the process. And more importantly, let me be clear, you raised RJ. Yes. Which is like the magical part, because not only were you rebuilding. So the thing is, I want people to understand this cultivating moment that you're in. You've gone through the transition of being divorced. Now you're a single dad. The career you thought you were going to have as a pro athlete has just transitioned. Now you're trying to redefine your career and figure out how to be a dad at the same time and have a personal life. And it's like all of this is happening all at the same time. But I'm going to tell you, you handled it like a champ. Like when I met you, honestly, it was so encouraging because although I didn't spend a lot of time with you guys or around you guys, it was like the few times that I did see you, it was like not only were you encouraging for me and what I was trying to do, because by the way, folks, I was a pre-med student at the hospital.
Right.
I just want to be clear. So when you think about, how we met in that situation, it was very encouraging to me to see a dad, but not only that, mentally, you were full. I don't know what to expect. Everything is new to me, but I'm a win. That was your attitude. I'm going to win in this moment.
Well, I'm sure a few people can relate. I was like a duck on water.
Yeah.
I was real smooth on top, but underneath I'm pedaling. I'm pedaling very hard. Trust me. So
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So before we leave this segment, if there's one thing that you want to tell to a dad at 20, getting ready to get divorced, or dad at 30, and you're talking to them right now as a 60-year-old, Gerald, what would you tell them on how to handle? Because right now we know the truth. People hold their kids hostage.
Exactly.
I'm not going to let you see them.
Exactly.
You're not paying child support. None of that has to do with the kid. So what would you say to those moms, those dads who are now going through that process and they're 20, 30 years old? What would you say to them?
I would say to the mom again, don't hold the kid hostage. It was the great thing about my son's mom is she realized that I am a good dad. I was a good father, to RJ. So she made the decision, says, you know what, in order for him to be a man, he needs to be raised by a man. Since we're not going to be together, that was something that she grew into. It didn't happen initially. And again, men, you need to also tone it down a little bit. If it's over, it's over. Don't be so harsh. Don't be so rough and tough about it. Just go ahead and go through it and calm yourself down. Ease on through the process, because it is a process. It's not just going to be a cake initially. This is going to be a whole bunch of flour and sugar all over the place before it comes together and becomes a cake. So, keep working at it to manifest that. And that's just the communication between the two, and just tone it down. Again, don't bring other people into the relationship, because that's going to change things too as well. Been there and made that mistake too as well. Don't bring people in immediately into that, because that other person is not going to feel very comfortable with that. And that's okay. Yep.
So basically, folks, we're going to commercial break. Gerald is telling you it's going to be a few burnt cakes.
Oh, yeah.
But finally, you get to one that's baked right. You put the icing on it, and you all can enjoy that cake together. The cake is your child. That's what we're talking about. The cake is the child, and you all need to bake the cake together, even though you're not together. Folks, we'll be right back after this commercial break. Gerald, as always, I knew you would knock it out the box. We'll be right back, guys, after this commercial break.
I don't know about you, but you make me crazy. Never got your name, but you got me begging. All I know about you, you're like a pick and choose. Make it all about you. Go take it all if you want. Taking the chance, stuck in my head, not gonna leave it at that. Taking the lead, feeling your heat. Just wanna give you my best. I don't even know your name, but you got me. 'Cause you're old to die. We don't know what happens next, but you got me. 'Cause I'm next in line. You make it look so easy, making me feel so dreamy. Never wanna place for drinks, but you got me. 'Cause you're old to die. Got me locked in now. Go ahead and take a shot. Do you really want me? Maybe you're just
Crazy. I'm sorry, I danced to the commercials when we're off. Hey guys, welcome back to 60 is the New 40 with Gerald Robinson. Today we're doing a special edition because we're talking about the transition of love and relationships. A lot of times we think everything is sugar-coated and wonderful. I'm a woman of divorce. He's a man of divorce. But we're talking about the male's perspective on divorce. We often hear about what women think or feel, but let's hear about what the men are actually going through emotionally. Because sometimes as women, we don't think y'all actually have emotions, Gerald. We'd be like, girl, he don't care. He about to get a new one.
We definitely have emotions, no doubt about it. Men
You
cry
do.
men cry on their pillows too. It
They
happens.
do cry on their pillows.
Cry on their
And you
pillows.
know what? And as a person who does not like to cry, we're going to be clear. I'm not very emotional.
Right.
But I will say this. I like a man that can just be in tune with himself. That means a lot to me, that you can just talk to me about what's going on. Now, of course, I don't want you whimpering every night because I might feel some kind of way about it.
there's a fine line in that, Chris. You gotta be very careful with that. You know, if I share something with you, it stays there. I don't want to hear about it later on. So that's so important. So that's another.
We're gonna talk about that.
But
yeah, that pillow talk. I need that pillow talk to stay right up on that pillow.
It stays on the pillow, correct. If we happen to have a discussion or a heated discussion or whatever the case may be, I don't want to hear about any of that.
Like in the middle of it, don't throw it in my face that we didn't talk about this on the pillow. Because then I'm mad.
Yeah.
See, that's why I just say, you know what? Is this in the vault or out of the vault? Is this an in the vault conversation? Because if it's not, I'm not going to talk to you. Okay, so folks, listen, we're going to segment 3. We're going to talk about getting to know me, the ability to love yourself first. That I'm going to tell you, nobody knows that you do these animal analogies to love and relationships, right? So you crack me up when you do that. And over the past 30 years, I've heard somebody would think you grew up on a farm. That's number one. Folks, he did not grow up on a farm.
Not at all.
He gets this pig and all. I don't even know where this stuff comes from.
Horses, giraffes,
exactly.
all that stuff.
When you said, I go, where did this come from? Like, you didn't even grow up on a farm. What is this about? So in this segment, we're going to basically just focus on you, because I think men understanding your journey as a man going through this process is awesome. So the first thing we're going to talk about, folks, real conversation, and nobody better not pick on my friend. Okay. Now, the first conversation is this. All y'all know y'all done been in a couple relationships. So don't be DMing and putting stuff in these comments about my friend, because I'm going to take it personal. Okay. So as a man, what was your journey to getting to know yourself after being married and in a relationship for over the past 30 years?
Whew. Good question.
Did you just say I feel like I shouldn't be drinking water. Should I have a glass of wine?
And kind of rewinding back to what I said before, is the journey is definitely picking up books and reading and studying and learning about women. Right. You know, because a lot of times I expected, like, wait a minute, I expect a woman to be like my mother. Well, hello, every woman's going to be mom. So my journey was to actually find out women. Like, there's a book called Men from Mars and Venus. I think it was something like that.
Yes.
Probably messing up anyway. But with that, read those type of books. Find out, you know, if a woman does certain things, it's not because it's just your woman doing it. It's because she's a woman, period. You know, and vice versa. Same thing goes for men. Women read men's books as well. Read about men, study things about men, because we do things differently, you know, totally different. And so if we do something different, don't think it's just Gerald. Like, Gerald, you're always Gerald. No, Gerald just happens to be a man that I happen to do things this way. Right. That's all. So it's so very important for you to study, you know, who you are, you know, and who the other person is as well when you're in that type of relationship. So study women, men study women, and women study men, please. You know, that was my journey. And that definitely made me really come around to knowing that what type of husband I am. Because again, I knew I was going to be a husband, but what type of husband? So what did you find out about yourself that you felt like, okay, I missed the loop on this the first go around, but I'm not going to miss it on the second. I'm going to get this right this time. And that means that internal assessment. I can only use me as an example. Yeah. When I got married the first time, like, I've been married like 20 times, but I got married the first time and the only time so far. It was like for 12 months, but it lasted 18 months because he didn't want to divorce me. Hi, Dave. I love you still. Okay. Okay. We're still good friends. He knows we're really good friends. I'm not giving any shout outs. Shout outs. That was a shout out because I know he watches. I want to say he was the perfect guy. I wasn't in the right place. See, that's what people don't understand. He was an excellent husband. It was me. Right. And so I divorced him. But the thing is, he knew enough, and he was younger than me. I was older than him. He knew enough to know, and I was his second marriage. Now you realize that's very big of you. Oh, yeah. To admit that. You know, a lot of people can't admit that. You know, I know it was me. It's going to help your growth. It's going to help your growth into your next marriage. Exactly. And that's the whole thing. And I think I had to really assess who I was in that space. Mm-hmm. And I had to look at him, and I realized he held on for a couple months and wouldn't sign the divorce papers because he kept saying, I love you. Like, I'll work through this with you. But the thing is, I wasn't in the right headspace. Right. So it didn't, and I want people to understand this. You can't make anybody, one of the rules, and my dad, we live by rules, and you would think we were military, but we weren't. But my dad had rule number 1, you can't make anybody love you or like you. Right, exactly. Right? And so that was the thing. I couldn't
I couldn't, as much as he loved me, he couldn't make me love him or like him.
Right.
Because I wasn't right. And so that's the whole thing, is when you need to get to know yourself and how to love yourself first. And that's where I made a mistake, folks. I had to love myself first. So Jordan, I want to say, like, you're doing really great. And so Gertrude, are you doing a shout out? Gertrude, thank you for joining us this evening. She's one of our regular viewers. Thank you, Gertrude. Folks, if you want to leave a comment for Gerald, listen, you can talk to us. We will definitely share your comments during the show and chat with you. So Gerald, that whole thing of going through relationships, and I know, like, my next relationship after him, I was very conscious and aware of who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure going into that relationship, I made it clear, like, I'm not looking for marriage. Like, this is what I want.
Well, that's important for you to put up front just like that.
Yeah.
So you actually know that, because, in meeting Donna, I told her, say, you know what, I'm getting married. I'm getting married in 2 years.
Okay, Joe, you and I know who Donna is. Everybody else doesn't know who Donna is.
That's my fiance. Hi, Donna.
I know. I just wanted you to say it. Hey, Donna. I just want you to say it. So, but the thing is that you, at this point, and we'll talk about that later on in one of the other segments, but the thing is, you knew going in, this is what I wanted, and you made it clear. Like, I'm not just out here dating to date you for no reason.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right.
Correct.
And I think that's one of the things about understanding who you are. So your ability to love yourself first, what did it take for you to go through that? Based on the impact from the previous relationships. Like, how did you make that transition and then say, I'm going to get back out there because I want to get married? Because a lot of times once you go through a divorce or bad relationship, you shy away from it.
You sure did.
So what was it in you that made you say, no, I'm doing this. I'm going back out again?
Because, again, I'll circle back to, again, I knew I was a husband. I wasn't a dater. I was out there dating. And I was like, okay, this is not, dating you. I'm like, okay, this is not cool.
You felt like a duck out of water?
I felt like a fish out of water, because
did you see that animal analogy?
Not every woman. Well, I won't get into that, because a lot of times you thought you met someone, but it was a pig. The pig ended up having diamonds on, earrings, and everything else. And at the end of the day, it was still a pig.
Did you say that?
Those diamond earrings were beautiful. That pearl necklace was gorgeous. But you take all that off, you're still a pig.
Honey, sometimes putting lipstick on a pig is still a pig.
Still a pig.
What you say? They came dressed up like it was a wife, but it wasn't a wife.
Correct. But not every woman either. Just as for men, not every woman wants to get married. Not every woman wants to get married. They don't mind just being, being your girlfriend or just being whatever, your significant other. They don't mind that. But see, me knowing I'm a husband, material, I'm busy trying to make them something that they're not wanting to be and they're not willing to be. And you need to recognize that and understand that. And a lot of times women will tell you, yeah, I want to get married, but they're not carrying themselves that way. And again, men, you said you want to also be married, but you're not carrying yourself as a husband, which makes a big difference too as well.
And that does make a big difference. And I like the fact that we know each other, because I can just say this and be okay with it. Your father, what did your father do for a living?
You talking about Reverend Frank?
Yes. I just want to be clear. So you not only read books, but you grew up in the
ministry. I was a preacher's child. That's right.
Exactly. See,
That's
I don't
right.
want us to leave that out. See, that's the tidbit people are not there. They may be missing as to why you are the way you are. So for you, you not only read self-help books to help you find out who you were, you got up in that Bible. And I remember you used to say to me, Christine, I'm looking for a virtuous woman. I used to be like, what the hell does this mean? Virtuous
Proverbs
woman.
31 woman. Yep, Proverbs 31 woman. And I knew my mother.
You would say that.
Correct. I said that all the time.
All the time. And
Correct.
I used to be like, Gerald, where are you going to find it? Because to me, the virtuous woman was a Virgin Mary. And I used to be like, Gerald, this is impossible. Like, where do you find a Virgin Mary at 30, at 40? Like, where you find it? So over the years, I used to tease you. And you said, well, a virtuous woman is like my mom. And I used to say, where is your mother at right now in today's time? Find your mother, right? And then when you told me about Donna, I was like, no way. Like, no way.
I found it. I found my Virgin Mary.
That's what you said to me. And I was like, okay, I got to meet her, because this is no way that you found this virtuous woman. And I'm going to tell you, she's everything you said she was. But you held out and you knew what you wanted, because, in your 30s, when you were saying a virtuous woman, I'm looking at you like, there are no Virgin Marys in their 30s and 40s. What is this man talking about?
But you know what happens, Chris? Over time, you just start realizing that, with Don and I, why we mix is that kindred spirit. We have that same type of spirit about each other. So again, here we go back to the animal thing again. Two dogs see each other. They know they're dogs. They know each other, right away. So our kindred spirit, we knew we were the same. So meeting her mom, she was just like my mother. Again, if you know my story, I knew Donna didn't know her. She was in my church 30 years ago.
Yes.
I watched her and her mom, and I watched how her mom raised her and everything else. So it was pretty much like, whoa, I recognize that. How she was raising her and how she was carrying herself. I recognize that. And then 30 years later, boom, she pops up and here she is.
I didn't want to tell that story. It's because folks, I know the story. I'll be waiting for him because I'll be like trying to push a button for him to tell the right story. So I didn't have to do that because you told the story. But that's the thing. And the thing is that the ability to love yourself first, it really took a lot for you to get there because you put a lot into RJ and being a parent.
I did.
And I have to say, like you said, it was some pigs. I'm not ever put your business street, but I mess up on pigs though. But them pigs with them lipsticks on, against all my heathen warnings, We're gonna be clear. I wasn't. By the way, folks, my father was not a minister, but he was the choir director. My mother was a soloist at the church. So I grew up in the church, but not the way you did. But the thing is, you genuinely wanted to be loved. Mm-hmm. And you're just that guy, like that's your person. Like you've never been that guy that just wanted to be out and about and not in a committed relationship. And I think sometimes when women see men like you, they're not being very clear on who they are because they hear you say, I'm looking for that virtuous woman. Because by the way, folks, he stayed in the church looking for that virtuous woman. I want to be clear. Mm-hmm. He wasn't at the Walmart or anything. Mm-hmm. Gerald stayed up in the church looking for this type of woman. And the thing is, Gerald, you mentioned this to these people and they mimicked that. And you were in the process of really trying to get back to loving yourself and making sure you were on the right path. And that kind of threw you off a little bit.
Totally threw me off. Exactly.
Because I remember you getting angry. You were like, what? I'm going to just stop this. This is wasted. What are these people doing? Well, and I share that.
One of the things I learned in the process is don't tell people what you like and what you want, because they'll turn it into that very thing that you say. So if you say, I want this kind of woman, want that, I want them to be like this, guess what? For a short period of time, there'll be those very things. That's man and woman. So be very careful and mindful of that. Is don't tell everybody what you want up front. Just let them be who they are. Then you'll see, give yourself time. I have a little small book that's going to be coming out soon that references all that. So, be on the lookout for that. It talks about those very things.
Is that the animal book or the other book? What's that? Is that the animal book or the other book?
No, it's the other book. It's not the other book.
All right, look, it's so funny. If anybody watches any of the podcasts Monday through Sunday, people crack up that all of you guys are my friends and I actually know you and talk to you guys like on a regular basis. And it's so funny because the way you approach things about where you are and where you were is so ingenious, right? But one thing I will always say, you always knew who you wanted. And like you said, being the person that you were telling women what you wanted, and then they mimicked it for a very short period of time. Yeah. But I knew when you were telling me about Donna, I could see your face light up like a light bulb. And you were just so content and just at peace. I was like, what is happening? This is a new him. Like I've never seen you so at peace. But the thing is, I always ask this question, and I'm asking now, at what age did you know you were and what you wanted in a mate? And that's why I'm asking, because I know what age you were, but I want you to tell them. I know.
Well, it's funny. First thing when you say that, which makes me think, I didn't realize I was a man until I was in my mid-30s. I still thought I was Gerald. I didn't realize I was Mr. Robinson now. Mr. Robinson was my dad. And I mean, all of a sudden, I'm Mr. Robinson. And here I'm in the corporate American world. I'm Mr. Robinson. I'm like, I'm turning around looking for dad. No, you're Mr. Robinson. You're a man now. You're a grown man. So, to an 8-year-old, 9, 10-year-old, you're Mr. Robinson. And I didn't realize that, didn't understand. All these kids are calling me Mr. Gerald or Mr. Robinson. I'm like, who is that?
Like, what is this?
That's me. Oh, wow. Okay. So truthfully, that's a true story, is that I did not realize that. So I had to transition into that wait a minute, I'm the grown man now. Mm-hmm. I'm Mr. Robinson. Yep. So my mid-30s.
in your mid-30s. And then at that point, how long did it take for you to realize, after you realized, okay, I'm a man, what do I want in a mate?
I already knew what I wanted in a mate, but I need to evolve into the right thing. That was the important thing, is that I know what I want, but I needed to act right. And I can't say it any other way. I wasn't acting right.
Did you use the word act, like the whole act right statement?
Yes, I did. So I needed to change some things about myself, and just put everything together. Again, back to the reading, back to the studying, back to realizing that this will be my marriage. This won't be my parents' marriage. So I can't mimic everything that my parents did. Some things close, but not the exact way they are, because their marriage worked for them.
And I know for you, that was a very hard transition to make, because you basically aligned who you were as a person to your dad. And then you looked at the type of woman you want and aligned that to your mom. So for you to break away from that and said, hey, I can't repeat this, which a lot of people try to do, and then they go through heartbreak.
Right.
Women try to go out and find their fathers.
Right.
And then men try to go out and find their moms.
And that's really not a bad thing. It's good and bad. It just depends on it. If he's a responsible man, he takes care of the household and things like that, then obviously you want those type of things. But as far as characteristics and other things, they're not going to be that. I mean, my dad didn't cut grass and do the things like I did. He had us out there doing it. But I go out there and cut the grass. RJ wasn't cutting the grass. He wasn't doing those things. Yes, he took trash out of it, but I still take trash. I still do all those things. That's just the man thing for me to do. That's
a whole separate show, us talking about our kids. and the stuff they don't do that they should be doing. We're going to talk about that. Okay, you know what, Antoinette, hey, what's going on? That's my girlfriend. Believe it or not, from middle school.
Wow. So she's known you longer then, huh?
That's middle school. Thank you for supporting Antoinette. She's out of Texas now.
Wow.
And Gertrude, you already know. She said, that's so funny, Chris. I love Gertrude. We already said when we go on the road, we taking Gertrude with us, because Gertrude, she rolled with us from the beginning. She said, Antoinette said, yes, let things happen organically. Exactly. That's the whole thing when you talk about relationships. And when we get back, folks, I just want to, again, thank Gerald, because let me tell you something, guys. Him opening up to you right now about his journey to where he started to where he's at now is huge. And trust me, I was testing our friendship to have this show. But the thing is, I had to convince him that this story needed to be told to help people. And that's what it was about. It wasn't about him or about me feeling, vulnerable, open to you guys. It's about what we have to say and how it could help somebody. And that's just real talk. We just want to make sure this whole network is about love and relationships and us having better communication. And any tools that we can give you, which is our life experiences, to identify that someone else is on the same page with you, we're here. We got you. That's what we do here at the 5 F's to Love. So folks, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Look at me, I'm on. 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 Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going.
Okay. Hold up. Yeah. I'm chasing the bag, I'm racing the clock. Look at them block, watching them flop. Used to see this in my sleep. When I ain't had shit on my thoughts in the car, I really was lost. Now I'm public with the soundscapes. Niggas flossing, really pulling strings for the pound cake. I see you went for a puppet in the clown face for a little wage. That shit the talk of the town is late. Still me, I never switch sides. Came a long way with the gas tank running. I need it all. Do you want it though? Where do I begin? I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard he scammer, had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call in my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. They through the struggle, I can see another drought. Yeah, it's not a purse, it's a merge. 6 figures, what's a gold? Now it's 9, no, I heard, put it work. Used to pull up, not swerve, no time for the snakes, time to put them in the dirt, that's word. I gotta get it, it's in my DNA. You only see the highlights, don't know what it takes. Last year stressing, got no sleep. Now I'm right between the courts, I don't know bleed. I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it dirty scam, I had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. And through the struggle, I can see another drop. Yeah, same circles to the.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 5 F's to Love. And yes, you're watching 60 is the New 40 with Gerald Robinson, and that's Gerald Robinson. We're just doing a special edition. We're talking about his journey from 40 to 60, I guess from 20 to 60, in going through a divorce and marriage and in relationships and getting to the point where he is. And just to let you guys know, he did find the woman that he's wanted all his life, this virtuous woman. Her name is Donna. Hey, Donna. She's absolutely adorable. So, Gerald, I'm going to tell you, knowing you over the years, and anybody who knows you, you're a very interesting person. Like, extremely interesting. Interesting in the sense of how you've been able to, I'm not going to call you a chameleon, but you've been able to grow and expand your space, but you do it from internally and you shoot it out. Like, you build from within first, and then you throw it out. And that's one of the things I don't think people understand. It's a really hard thing to do. So I'm going to ask you, because understanding love in my love languages is the segment we're in now. Everybody, you see how his face, his eyes went down? He's like, wait a minute. Are you taking out notes that you?
All right, I pull my notepad out on this one. Go ahead.
I just want to say, you're hilarious. He's like, all right, Christine, what are you asking me in this segment? Trust me, I'm asking you the stuff that I know is going to be helpful to somebody. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, has your love language changed from your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s? So we're going to start at your 20s. Like, what did you think that you wanted when you were in your 20s, other than the fact that you thought, your son's mom was pretty? What were you thinking?
Oh, just a little fine little woman on my arm. That was it.
That was it.
Plain and simple. That's it. You know what I mean?
That was it. So in your 30s,
that's it. You didn't even think about anything out future and all that.
You didn't care if she was smart. You were just like, she's just cute. We keep doing it.
Didn't even matter. It didn't matter. That means when we were going out somewhere and she was on my arm, everyone else was looking.
And you were focused on that.
That is the God honest truth. That's how I felt.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I told you.
And that's for me.
I'm
really exposing myself here. That's true. That's how
I know. And folks, I just want to say, I'm hoping we still friends after this show. I'm gonna be like,
anyway, you'll get a call after this. You'll get a call after this. Don't worry.
I'm gonna get a call. Hopefully it's a nice one. Hopefully it's not a rated R one. Okay. So in your 30s, what was your love language in your 30s at that point?
It started evolving. It started changing again. Like I said, in my mid 30s, I realized I was a man. And also realized that, wait a minute, what a husband should be.
Right.
And I started studying, still had a little bit of, not really understanding, still wanted the little, pretty person on my arm and all that kind of stuff, thinking I'm out the box the wrong way. And I won't get into that, but just trying to make sure that I had somebody that was, that would look nice. Now also have a nice career too as well. Now I was looking for that. Now in my 30s, I was starting to look for somebody that said, well, okay, did they have a decent job? Are they intelligent enough to have a conversation with me? So that also became important to me later on too as well.
Oh, wait, and let me tell you something. Just looking at someone based on attraction, that's okay. Because everybody wants a handsome person with them or a beautiful person, right? Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, but you also want to be able to communicate with someone after everything's done. You're sitting at the dinner table, you want to be able to have an intelligent conversation with someone. That came on later on in years, in the 30s and the 40s. Mm-hmm. Later on, you started wanting to have those things. And you're also thinking about your future a little bit more too as well.
You are. Okay, so your level of what you knew was needed, but at that point, so your love language, were you a person who needed services? Did you need somebody to tell you that you were great? Like, what was your thing that did it for you in a relationship that shifted from 20 to 30 that you realized, no, I really need this and not so much that?
Well, in my 20s, I was into working out, so all of a sudden I'm getting built and all that kind of stuff. So I love getting those services. I love people telling me that about myself. So I worked hard for that.
Okay, Drew, I'm sorry. You're 60 and that still hasn't gone away. I just want to keep that real. That's been consistent. Okay, I don't know.
You are going to get a call after this. All right.
Look, Donna already know it's true. So me and Donna together.
You're going to get that phone call. All right.
Donna, we already know the truth. Okay, so listen. So at that point, like you're saying, so your love language from 20 to 30, the shift was you're then working on your physical body. You
Correct.
like to get the compliments, but at that point, was it still you needed what? Did you need somebody to show you that they love you? Did you need cards? Did you need somebody to communicate that to you? Or you
I just needed someone to appreciate me for me.
okay?
So I really know, and cards did mean something. Initially, I didn't think so because again, it was that macho thing that I didn't need card. But when you did receive a card, it was nice. It was nice for someone to think of you that way, and it didn't have to be your birthday.
Right.
It didn't have to be a special occasion. It didn't have to be Valentine's Day for that. Men, we love flowers too. Hello, ladies. We love flowers as well.
Did you do a hello?
You can send us some flowers occasionally. You don't have to send them to the job so the guys can tease me, but you can send them. You can bring them home. That's
Okay,
all.
so that's good to know. So when you got to your 40s, did your love not what you were attracted to, but did your personal love language change?
It did. It did.
Okay,
'Cause
what
like
did
I
it look like in your 40s?
in my 40s again, the very things that I was asking for them to do, I
Yeah.
needed to do them myself. So again, that praise, oh, you look very nice today, or I like that outfit, that looks nice on you. It's the very things I wanted to hear, and I need to give those out to them as well. So those are important. I wanted to hear that. That's a nice outfit. That looks nice, nice together. Or even have them pick your outfits out for you. That's okay. That was okay as well. So you got into your 40s, you're okay with that. You're okay with those type of things. In your 20s, you're like, 20, 30s.
In your 20s, you're selfish. The 30s, you're selfish.
Exactly.
And when you got to your 40s, you realize, okay, I like the compliments. They may like the compliments as well.
Absolutely.
So you really started to define yourself, not only because, to be totally honest, at this point, guys, he's got a kid. He's got a job, a career. He's growing. He's trying to maintain a relationship with his son's mom, and he's also trying to find his true love. And at the same time, you're molding yourself.
Right. Absolutely correct. That was a lot. That's a lot. Right. It's a lot to tackle. Again, remember, I was just becoming a man, knowing I was a man and responsibility.
At the 30s.
Right. Exactly. In the 40s, again, now all of a sudden I'm thinking about putting some money aside for later. So I am thinking about future. So now all of a sudden 40s, now all of a sudden I'm thinking about future. Like, wait a minute, I'm 40. And also, wait a minute, I have a 20-year-old son, an 18-year-old son. It's like, okay, things are a little bit different here now. So again, with that, you evolve into, saying, wait a minute, I need to think about my future. I need to think about, this person I'm involved with, and so on.
That's a big difference. And people need to understand how you grow and mature. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, Miss Gwen, thank you so much. She says, I was in my late 20s when I knew what I didn't want based on an early relationship, marriage, and parenthood. And I found my life mate. Today we celebrate our 33rd wedding
anniversary.
Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary, sis.
Oh, that is so beautiful. She says, I am with Gerald. The love language does change. It has to, as we mature and grow into a solid, well-rounded people, that we can both love and be loved. Love yourself first. Thank you so much.
Correct,
girl, look at your family. They just love you.
Thanks for tuning in.
So the thing is, people don't think that their love language has changed. But the thing is, as you uniquely grow into who you are, and your experiences will help you define what's important to you. And people need to realize that, Gertrude is basically our virtual cast member. Miss Gwen, happy anniversary. We love her.
Another one, the love language with quality time. Quality time became very important too, as well. As you got older, for the quality time became very important. Oh yeah, having that quality time, because you actually really, when you're 40, you really want to have a mate. You really actually like them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make sure you like, so you want to spend time with them.
Did you say you really actually like them?
Right. Your 20s, 30s, your 20s and 30s, you just don't go.
I really like them.
Right. But you actually like them. And where I can really say that is, Don and I, we like each other. We really love each other. We like being around and spending time around each other. Quality time is so important, so it matters. And you realize, you evolve into that. You realize that, wait a minute, I like them. Okay.
See, that's so beautiful. Donna's like your mirror. We won't get into that though. Donna knows like I'm her number one cheerleader. She knows that. Okay, so what would you say to the 20-year-old or 30-year-old you right now? What would you say to that dude who don't understand his love languages, who out there with a kid and just acting a zip darn fool?
Learn them very fast, quick, fast, and in a hurry. You'll save yourself a whole lot of pain. Trust me. A lot of ups and downs, and in relationships. Get grounded. As soon as possible. Grounded means knowing who you are and what you want in your future. It's so important. That you do that at an early age, because it's going to save you the heartaches. If you see red flags in a relationship, just know the red flags. Don't turn them into green. Don't try to say, don't turn them into yellow and make them cautious or whatever. They're red. Red is red. So know those red flags and speak up on those, because it happens. So, male or female, I'm not just talking about guys, I'm talking about females as well. So, before you get too deep into that relationship. So it's know what you want and stand firm on what you actually want and what you need in a relationship.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, Gerald's going to talk about him now being in a relationship, and you already know her name, which is Donna. What does that look like when you're doing this in your 60s? When it comes to your finance, when it comes to children, property, there's a lot of stuff happening. So when we get back, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it at a high level, because on one of his other podcasts, he's digging in deep. But he's going to give you a high level, some things that you need to look at before you make that commitment. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break from our major sponsor. Hey guys, welcome back to 60 to New 40. And no, I'm not Gerald. That's Gerald. We're doing a special edition because we wanted to talk about the transition of life when you've been married, you guys go through divorce, and you've been through relationships. And what does that look like from your 20s to your 60s? Gerald, one, I'm going to say thank you. Our friendship over the past 30 years, and I value it very much because you've been that person who really has been like on my butt about making sure that I'm doing the right thing all the time. And I really appreciate that, because it's not a lot of friends that I got that can get in my butt and I take it like on the chin and not personally in the heart. So I'm just gonna say I appreciate that, because some of y'all get on my nerves. We won't throw nobody's name out there, but you know who you are because I told you, because you've upset me already. Okay, so finding true love when you're in your 50s or 60s. By the way, if you're just joining us, Gerald did find his true love, his virtuous woman. Her name is Donna, and they're getting married in the spring. I'm excited about it.
So
I'm really excited about it. Huh?
So am I. Very excited.
He is. I just want to say, I was so happy when you were moving stuff around and you were like, I got to get this attic right because I got to move stuff up here because Donna moving in. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you were like a kid.
You couldn't believe it, could you? Huh?
I couldn't. You were like a kid in a candy store. I was like this. Yeah. Is this Gerald? Like, you were so excited. But you know what? It was really great because when you find that person you're supposed to be with, these next couple conversations are not that serious. So we're going to start it off real quick, guys, just giving a high level. Joe's going to just like let you know this whole thing about finance. You know, you guys, the whole finance thing, how did you get through that conversation?
Yeah, that's a huge conversation, because you have to realize in our 60s, 50s, late 50s and 60s, you got to realize you've accumulated quite a few things. Donna had her own home. She had her home. I had my home. So, what did we do? 15 years into her home, what did we do? So we actually had that conversation and start putting some things together. Of course, I'm the finance guy. So I just started putting numbers together. She saw the numbers, and here we go. Next thing you know, she's selling her home.
One of the things that I loved about what you said to me, and we were having a conversation about something non-related to you guys, but about related to people and relationships. And you said, well, ain't no secrets. My name is on all her stuff and her name is on all my stuff. And she got all my passwords and everything. And I was like this. That's what I'm talking about.
That's exactly where I was about to go with that. Exactly. Yeah. I made the decision, because I made a decision. If I was going to get married again, my wife was going to have all the information. There wasn't going to be a little secret phone, a little secret whatever. My password is 1, 2, 3, 4. You can go on my phone anytime. Bottom line, my bank accounts. I have three different banks. Every my bank account. Here you go. This is what it is. I actually showed you the statements. The other thing, I was laughing earlier. We were talking. 36, 24, 36 isn't my favorite numbers any longer.
Right.
It's your FICO score.
Wow.
FICO score.
You just do a shout. 36, 24, 36 is not my favorite numbers anymore.
It's not my favorite numbers anymore. Exactly right. Your FICO score. And also your 401k. It's a 401k is involved in too when you get paid. So those kind of things, as far as retirement is concerned, you need to actually have those type of conversations, before you decide to get together. They may be tough. You may not have had them in the past, but you truly need to have them at this age, because a lot of things change, when you're 60, if you decide to get married.
And the thing is, like your situation, kids, no kids. Like, so the thing is, she's walking into a situation where you have kids and grandkids that you take care of, folks. I just want to say, you get like a huge, I would always tell you, I'll be giving you them virtual hugs, because I'll be like, you doing it. You are like a rock star granddad, because you are raising your grandbabies too.
Oh yeah, every other weekend they're with Pop-Pop. We spend the time with Pop-Pop. So that's a conversation you need to have. Donna and I have a conversation, because you got to remember, she's never been married, no kids. My daughter's married, no. So again, she's walking to a situation where I have a son, and yes, because sometimes your kids need to come back home. That's another conversation you need to have as well. Yeah. So are you willing to? Here you're walking around the house, with another adult there, and all of a sudden here's another adult, my son. Right. So no, he's not here now, but what happens if that goes on in your life? I'm just talking to people out there. You have a situation, you meet someone, and your child's going through something, they need to come back home. So those are discussions that you truly need to have up front. The grandkids, she's my mom Donna already. They already had a meeting together. They would have had a meeting of the minds last weekend, and they're like, okay, Pop-Pop's getting married, to Miss Donna. So now what do we call her? She's my mom Donna. So they came in, met with her. They're awesome. And they said, you know what? We want to call you Mom Donna now.
Oh, see, that's so beautiful.
Exactly. She's all emotional, and
I know she was.
Exactly. And of course, Adonis is the one boy. The rest of the girls, the one boy wrapped right around her finger. Totally.
I bet you he's adorable.
He's absolutely adorable. So
he's like a little baby. Gertrude, I don't know, Gertrude, you just need to be on the show. Gertrude said, congratulations to Gerald and Donna, wishing you have a laughter, love, continuous growth together. Very happy for you.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Thank you, Gertrude. Honey, that's our ride or die viewer. Gertrude, be with us.
I see. Thank you.
That's our ride or die. When we go to our conference, we just fly her in, courtesy, because Gertrude been with us from the beginning, from season 1. So that's our ride or die. Right. Gerald, I just want to say, I've seen your growth over the past 30 years. And I want to say, I've never seen you better than I've seen you right now. Thank you. And I have to tell you, when you first moved into that house, it was one thing, but now it's a home. And I can see the difference with you and Donna, who you are as a person, as a man.
That's what a good woman to do for you.
And that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. I've seen it. Not that you weren't a good guy. You've always been that good guy, that reliable guy, the guy that everybody calls. But I'm going to tell you, seeing you with her, our conversations are different. Like, you're very motivational with me, but you also, like, Christine, when you going to get together and get married? Because you be in my business. But I'm gonna tell you, Donna, take the pressure off me. You put pressure on me, telling me get my act together and get married.
He's out there for you. You just have to learn how to cook. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. You know what, Donna, when we finish, you know what to do. Why all my people?
I had to throw mine in there, Chris. I had to throw my little jab in there.
All y'all, the guys last night was on me. Your sister says, keep on keeping on. See, that's right. What I'm talking about. That family love. Gerald, I'm going to tell you this special edition. I really appreciate you doing it and really helping people understand that growth for men and for women. I appreciate you being so transparent about your journey. Thank you for even sharing your personal life about Donna. And I really appreciate that. Tell Donna it really means a lot to me, because my goal is for us to help our culture have better conversations and better relationships. And the only way we can do that is when we see men like you tell the truth about where they are in their journey through that process. And for women to get a glimpse at just understanding the man, they think totally different than us. On a lot of cases, y'all don't talk. Y'all just be like this. No, y'all don't talk. But you're going through a lot emotionally. So I'm going to tell you, like I always say, I'm about to shoot out, and you leave the people with what you want to leave them with. But I'm going to say, as your friend, and you know me to the end, I really love and appreciate you. I love and appreciate Donna and her support. And by the way, y'all, Donna, my co-producer in Delaware, like she makes sure he be together and everything. So my co-producer in Delaware, I really appreciate her allowing you to be this transparent in this conversation. And I just really appreciate it. So
she's so supportive. I appreciate her. And that's why I love her so much.
I know. She's awesome. All right. So I'm out. You close it. See you later, dude.
Just like to leave you with, just make sure in your journey, rather in your 20s, 30s, 40s, actually find yourself first and foremost. Realize what you want in life, before you decide to get a mate. It's so important. I made the mistakes, and I truly don't want you to make the mistakes. And that's exactly why I was sharing my story, is find out who you are first and foremost before you decide to bring someone else into your life. As I was stating before, study relationships. Study the relationships that you want to get involved in. Study what women are like, men, study what men are like, vice versa. Just make sure that you put that time in, the same way as I was stating to Chris earlier, the same way you study for, to get your degrees, and need to study in relationships, because just trying to learn from, the outside relationships, that's not going to work. You need to find out for yourself what an actual relationship is all about. So, you know what? Do your best, work hard at it, and I'd love to hear from you later on. Have a good day. Good evening.